Thank you to my patrons and YouTube members and to new patron James. Almost 2 years ago, I published a video called The Top 10 Reasons That Your Aiming System Sucks. Then I made a complimentary video called How to Aim, which I followed up with a video called When to Aim. This video, The Perfect Angle, is a continuation of my philosophy of aiming and how it integrates with the rest of your shot-making process. Let's dive deeper. If you've watched my videos, you know that I'm not a fan of aiming systems. There's no magic secret to aiming. It's a learned process. Today, you will learn how to simplify learning to aim and integrate it fully into your process. My How and When to Aim and Vision Center videos presented the basics of accuracy versus precision, the sight picture, and proprioception. So you might want to watch those videos first if you haven't already. In this video, we're going beyond the basics. Shot angle and throw, 2 categories of cut shots, the perfect angle, how to practice, and the process of aiming. First, we better define just what is meant by aiming. The dictionary says aiming is to direct or point a weapon or camera at a target. Is your pool cue a weapon? No, it's a tool. And we need to point it at a target and then direct it, that is to throw it, at that target. But your pool cue doesn't reach the target like an arrow or a bullet. Your cue stick instead propels the cue ball toward the target. And then both the object ball and the cue ball need to travel to separate pre-selected targets. Wow, it's no wonder so many players can get seduced by aiming systems. It's much more than simply target acquisition or simple geometry. Your old geometry textbook might have used a pool table to talk about the angle of incidence and reflection, but that textbook assumes a frictionless environment, while the pool tables we play on have friction and deflection. Once you understand the basics of the ghost ball and the 30-degree half ball hit, throw and deflection need to enter the equation. Deflection, sometimes called squirt, refers to the cue ball traveling away from the center line of your shaft due to being hit off center. The science of deflection and the features of low deflection shafts is beyond the scope of this video. For now, we want to practice aiming by stroking as close to the vertical center line of the cue ball as possible. Friction of pool balls, which we call throw, should always be considered. Throw sends the cue ball away from the line connecting cue ball and object ball centers. The 3 main types of throw are caused by side spin, SIT, or side spin induced throw, speed of the shot, CIT, or contact induced throw, and cling, also called skid, or snooker players call this a kick. Players today can be meticulous about using clean or polished balls and modern chalks that do not leave a residue on the cue ball. Side spin on the cue ball causes the opposite spin on the object ball due to friction during contact, which throws the object ball away from the center line between the ghost ball and the object ball. For this lesson, let's stay on the vertical center line of the cue ball. Side spin is a topic for another video. Contact-induced throw is not as avoidable. When you cut a ball, the friction during the momentary contact of the balls can drag on the object ball, causing it to travel past the shot line. The steeper the cut angle, or the softer the stroke of the shot, the more contact-induced throw you need to account for. Many players succumb to the temptation of using outside English to counteract contact-induced throw. For example, when cutting a ball to the right, contact-induced throw will throw the ball left. Left English on the cue ball will throw the ball right, possibly counteracting the contact-induced throw. I strongly suggest you resist this temptation. If you learn to aim with your Q-tip on the center line of the cue ball, you will be far ahead of your peers when the time comes to learn more advanced positional routes requiring side spin and more powerful strokes. 2 quick points before we move on. First, some players believe throw makes the object ball curve away from the shot line, but this is not the case. Throw happens immediately and in a straight line. Second, a quick reminder about measuring shot angles. Let's review the measuring of a shot angle real quick. I have an object ball that's 1 diamond out from each rail. And then I have 2 cue balls. One is a close, so it's a short shot, and then a long shot. And each cue ball is lined up in a line with the object ball. So a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that these are the same shot, the same cut angle. Well, they're not. We always need to measure the cut angle to the ghost ball. So the 2 ball represents the ghost ball. It's in a line from the pocket through the center of the 5. We need to shoot the cue ball at the ghost ball in order to pocket the object ball. So if I look at a line through this cue ball pointed at the ghost ball, it's nowhere near this cue ball. It's a different cut angle. Same thing here. If I point a line through this cue ball at the ghost ball, that does not go through the center of this cue ball. So each of these cue balls are not the same shot. It's a very different cut angle.
Okay, now let's look at how accurate pool players need to aim. For the purposes of this video, I'm defining accuracy as how perfectly the object ball is struck, and precision as how perfectly the cue ball is struck. Accuracy is a function of aim point acquisition, throw, and deflection, while precision is a function of cue tip location, shot speed, and shaft direction. As you can see, aim point acquisition is just one small part of a pool shot. It seems you might need a supercomputer to make the calculations. Well, you do, and you have one, the human brain. The process can be simplified through an understanding of the margin of error for pool shots, the sight picture, and stroke delivery. I've calculated the margin of error for 3 common shots. First is a ball located on the foot spot. The ghost ball and red lines show a center pocket shot. The yellow and green lines show the margin of error that could still result in pocketing the ball. The margin of error is about 4 degrees from one side of the pocket to the other. That means there are only about 7 unique cut shot angles or aim points between 0 and 30 degrees for this ball. When an object ball is closer to the rail, the pocket width and margin of error decreases, this time to a little over 3 degrees, or about 8 to 9 unique cut shots between 0 and 30 degrees. For a similar ball played to the farther corner pocket, the margin of error decreases to about 1 degree. This is why the longer an object ball is from the pocket, the closer to perfect your accuracy and precision must be. As your aiming improves, so does your ability to both see and hit this dot. We'll see exactly how in the How to Practice section of this video. My How to Aim video introduced the idea of a sight picture. The sight picture is the 3-dimensional image your eyes see when you set up to the shot. This image is filled with lines of perspective, the relative size of the cue ball and object ball, distance of object ball to pocket and the nearest rail, cue tip position and direction, and so on. Your brain uses these lines of perspective, along with your intentions for speed of shot and spin, and your learned understanding of deflection and throw, to automatically pinpoint the aiming dot. And with proper shot discipline, that dot becomes a microdot. Believe it or not, this is the easy part. Every human brain can quickly and easily make these calculations. But if your head moves when you shoot, that microdot is a moot point. All the physical mechanics that compose a quality stroke delivery are beyond the scope of this video. But I mentioned some in the How to Practice section. But know this, every single shot of your entire pool career is a straight shot. I didn't say straight in. A straight in shot is when the cue ball and object ball are lined up to the pocket. That's not what I'm talking about. By straight shot, I mean a perfectly straight stroke delivery. After all, if you can't hit the microdot, nothing else matters. When playing pool, you do not control the object balls. You do not control the cue ball. You can control only one thing, the delivery of your cue stick. Aiming is not just finding the aim point. It's also aligning your stance to it and delivering your cue stick straight at it. I've seen aiming systems cause some players to spend maybe 95% of their efforts on aim point acquisition, when the correct proportion should be the opposite. Is this sounding complicated? Well, let's look at a way to simplify your aiming practice. Practicing a shot that's giving you trouble is just one of the many ways to focus your practice. Another is the endless variety of progressive practice drills you can find online. But here's a way for beginner to intermediate players who can get overwhelmed at the seemingly endless variety of possible shots on a pool table. Let's break down all cut shots into a few categories. This is not about banks or combinations or caroms or other types of shots. This is just about cut shots, the meat and potatoes of your pool game. We can categorize all cut shots by the position of the cue ball and the object ball. When an object ball is on or within one ball diameter of a rail, that's a rail shot. Rail shots can only be cut into one of two corner pockets. When the object ball is a few ball diameters from a rail, I call that a bounce shot. Bounce shots almost always require bouncing the cue ball off the rail for position and are most often played in one of two corner pockets. Open table shots are farther from the rail and have more pocket options. For each of the three general object ball positions, the relative cue ball position can be divided into thick and thin cut shots. Thick cut shots are from 0 to 30 degrees. With thick cut shots, your cue tip is always pointed at some part of the object ball. Thin cut shots are 30 degrees or more. With thin cut shots, your cue tip is always pointed past the edge of the object ball. So now you have 6 different categories of shots to practice. At first, most players just want to be able to pocket the object ball. But in my opinion, where the cue ball goes is inextricably linked to aiming and shot making. When playing pool, you will always have an objective for the cue ball in mind, even if it's just a stop shot on the last ball of a rack. Let's take a look at a method for practicing your aiming.
I want to use this cut shot to demonstrate my method for learning how to aim a shot that you're unfamiliar with. Maybe you're having trouble with it. Maybe you're a beginner and you're just beginning to try to figure out the angles, or maybe you're intermediate and you just have one specific shot that's giving you some trouble. So how can you get better at aiming that shot or at shooting that shot? So I'm going to give you a whole procedure here. But what happens to many players is they will be practicing by themselves or just hitting balls, and they'll shoot a shot like this and they'll miss it. And then what do you do when you miss it? You set it back up and you shoot it again, and you might miss it again. You might miss it 2 or 3 or 4 times. And then finally, you make the ball. And you're like, oh, okay, I got it now. I knew I could make that shot. And then you go on and do something else. Well, I want to let you know that that's real common. Everyone does that. But when you do that, you have learned nothing. That's not how you get good at pool. That's not how you get good at a shot. What you want to do is have a routine, a procedure, which I'm going to show you now, that you can practice a shot that's giving you trouble or as you're learning to shoot, and you will be able to build on it and own that shot. Because if you miss it 5 times and then make it once, the next time that shot comes up in a tournament or a match, you're going to miss it because you haven't put in the work to own that shot and to understand it. And so that's what I'm going to show you how to do. So whatever the shot is, I'm just going to demonstrate an easy shot here just to establish the principles of how to do it. I always say to my students, I cannot teach you how to play pool. And they're like, what the heck? I'm paying you. That's what I'm paying you for. What are you talking about? What I can do is teach you how to teach yourself to play pool. So I'm going to show you the method by which you'll train yourself to own this shot. But you have to put in the work. Okay, so I'm just going to use this easy shot to establish the principles. But the first thing you want to do, if you want to work on a shot and own it, get these little donuts, I'm sure you've seen these, and mark the table so that you're shooting the exact same shot over and over. So I'll just put this one right here, and I'll put this one here for the cue ball. So every single time we set this back up, we're going to have the same shot. Okay, so if you have trouble making this ball, how do you learn where the aim point is? Now, someone with a system is going to tell you, oh, you calculate it this way, and then that's where you point your cue. Well, that doesn't work because you need to learn what the sight picture looks like for you. And so how do you do that? And it's a system I call bracketing. So what I want you to do is come over here and look at the line to the pocket. But don't get too deep into it. Because what I want you to do is miss the shot. And I know that sounds really strange. But here's the line to the pocket. Here's the line to miss the shot by hitting it thick. Here's the line to miss the shot by hitting it thin. Now, look at the variance from all the way from here all the way over to here. And earlier in the video, I talked about this. When you have an angle that's less than 30 degrees, there can be as many as, or as few as maybe 7 cut shots from straight in over to here. So this is, I always say aiming is easy. You don't need this system to try and find the point. It's not that hard, but you're just not familiar with it yet. So that's what we're doing, and we're going to bracket. So here's missing it fat, here's missing it thin. So what I want you to do is shoot the shot with the intention of hitting the rail to start with, just to start with. We're bracketing to learn, we're gonna zero in on the aim point, okay? But I want you to miss the shot by hitting it thickly. I want to hit the rail, okay? So I'm taking my best guess where that is, and I'm lining up to it. I'm going to give you a couple of stance issues, even though this video isn't about stance and shot entry and all that. I'll just give a couple of quick tips because it's going to help you. I want you to find that point, and my cue's on that point, and my head is on that point. And then when you get on your shot, your toe is on that point. So I've got my cue, and now my grip hand, and my head, and my toe on that line. And then I just step forward, and then my bridge hand comes on that line, and my body comes into the cue. So that's, I could do an hour-long video on what I just said. So that's just the simple basics. And the reason why I'm stressing that in a video about aiming, because if you don't have a deliberate intent on where you're aiming, you cannot judge the results. Does that make sense? If you shoot one shot and you hit it here and the other shot you hit it here, you can't evaluate what you're doing. So you have to make a very deliberate intent of where you're trying to aim, and you have to stroke straight and hit that point. Then, if you do both of those things, then you can judge what happens. So this is how we're going to get into the shot, and then when your bridge hand comes down on the shot, you need to bring your head down to the shot before you begin your warm-up stroke. What so many people do, especially amateurs, they'll get down on a shot like this. Did you see that? I was doing my warm-up strokes in the air as I came down. So in order to get consistent at your shot making and learning your aim points, you can't do that anymore. So the procedure is to get down on your shot, the bridge hand hits the cloth, and then the head goes to wherever yours is. Some of you put your head way down on your chin on the cue. Some of you are up here. I don't care where your head is, but your head needs to be in its final position before you begin any warm-up strokes. So I'm going to aim this to the fat side of the pocket. I'm going to hit it thick, and I'm aiming it, and I start my entry with my toe, and I bring everything in line. My hand is down and my head is down, and I'm checking. Is my Q-tip in the right place? Am I aimed? Where am I aimed? And so I'm picking a specific spot, and it's right at the edge of the ball. And now I can do my warm-up strokes, and then pause at the ball, and then the slow backstroke, and go through. Now, did the object ball go where I wanted? It did. I wanted to hit it there, and that's where it went. I want to be still on the shot. I want my head to be still after I followed through, and I'm allowed to look at the object ball with my eyes. Don't turn your head, but follow with your eyes, and also follow it with your ears. And this is really, really important to listen to the shot, because when you start to get consistent with this shot, you're going to be listening for this sound and not this sound. See the difference? Just a little tip there. All of these inputs combine in your pool shooting computer brain to compose the sight picture. So when you do this routine that I'm showing you, that information is building up in your brain. And that's how you get consistent at a shot that you're having trouble with. Okay, so I was successful in that. So now I want to hit it thin. I'm going to hit the left side of the pocket. So I'm looking at where that is, and I'm just getting an idea. Okay, I'm going to have to hit it pretty thin. So in this case, my Q-tip's going to be pointed through the cue ball past the edge of the object ball. See that? Okay, so that's where I want to be. The head's on line, the cue and the hand is on line. We start with the toe and everything comes down onto the cue. And my tip is, I don't begin any warm-ups till I'm fully down. And my tip is pointed past the object ball, past the edge. One smooth stroke. Everything stays still. And I'm looking with my eye and I'm listening. And I got really, really close. I saw it hit the point. I didn't even hit here. I hit the point and it bounced over to the other point and then here. Now, some of you, when you shoot this shot, and you might have an intention of undercutting the ball, and whoops, the ball goes in the pocket. As long as you have lined up to a specific point, and you know where that point is, and you stroke straight at that point, you've learned something. You can judge the results. So you were trying to undercut it and you cut it in the pocket. But since you know you have a conscious picture of where you were pointing on the cue ball, you now have information with which to proceed. So what I want you to do is shoot this a couple times left and right of the pocket. And that may sound a little silly, it may sound counterintuitive. Trust me, when you're shooting pool, and when you get more advanced, maybe branching into other games, you're not always shooting an object ball into the pocket. So it's not about that. It's about aiming the object ball wherever you want it to go. Okay, but by bracketing, what you're doing is you're taking the fear out of the desire to pocket the ball. If you put the pressure on yourself to always pocket the ball, you're not focusing on the correct things. By bracketing, you're changing your focus, and you're paying attention to where you're hitting the cue ball. Is here, and then you get closer and closer and closer and closer. Now, some of you are gonna do what I just did. You'll miss it once and miss it this side, and then the next time you want to try and pocket the ball. Some of you are going to miss it 5 times, 8 times before you make it. That's okay. That's the purpose of this exercise, to bracket, to hit it too far, too little, too far, too little, too far, too little, and get it closer and closer and closer. And you're paying attention to your point every time, your aim point, and you learn where the aim point is for this particular shot. Now, I didn't mention, when you begin this, every single shot you want to address the cue ball in the center. When I say center, I mean the vertical axis of the cue ball and the horizontal axis, right in the middle. And when you do that, it's going to be a rolling cue ball. It won't have a lot of follow on it. It won't have any draw, but it'll be rolling. And so at the same time that you're shooting this shot, and I'm going to shoot the ball to pocket it this time. So I know where, because I've bracketed, I know my aim point to pocket the ball is in the middle of there. And so I'm coming down on that. Check, is my Q-tip pointed at that spot? Yes, it is. Okay, some warm-up strokes. Pause, everything stays still but your arm. Okay, and I lifted my Q-tip to get out of the way of the cue ball. But the body stays completely still. You remove your eyes to watch the object ball and listen. And I think that I didn't shoot it hard enough to go into the back of the pocket, but I don't think it really hit the facings too much. The other thing that's happening as you're shooting this shot, that cue ball went this way, didn't it? It went to the rail and then came back this way, not perpendicular to the rail, but back at this angle, okay? Every single pool shot that you shoot has 2 components. Where did the object ball go? Where did the cue ball go? So you think that you're just practicing this shot, this routine to learn how to cut this ball in, and you are, but you're also learning where does the cue ball go. If this is a shot you have trouble with, you're going to do your bracketing until you get to where you figured out where the aim point is. Once you've made that ball, you need to put it back up, and that's why we have our spots. And then you need to pocket that ball 5 times in a row. And we're just hitting the cue ball in the center. And then look what happened. I missed one. And that's going to happen to you too, and that's okay. But if you miss it, you got to start over again. You need to make it 5 times in a row, hitting the cue ball in the center. Remember at the beginning I said a lot of people will miss it 3, 4, 5 times, and then they'll make it once, and then they go on to something else. What we're doing is we're breaking that cycle. When you made it once, make it 4 more times to imprint it, that you know what you're doing and that you know where that aim point is. Everything stays still until the balls stop moving. Okay, now I know exactly where that cue ball is going with center ball. Okay, so now you've learned where the aim point is. You've made it 5 times in a row. You're not done yet. Set it up again. Now do everything exactly the same, but lower your Q-tip position by 1 shaft diameter, just one tip lower on the cue ball. You're not trying to draw the ball. Same speed of stroke, 1 Q-tip lower on the cue ball. So now when I set up, the hand is down and the head is down, and I check my tip position, and now it's below center. So now I can do my aiming or my warm-ups, then pause. Everything stays still. Well, look where the cue ball went. With 1 tip difference, the cue ball went here. From here is in the center, and it went here below, 1 Q-tip below. So we're not getting crazy, we're not getting carried away, we're not getting fancy. The way you're going to own these shots is by a methodical process where you build up your skills from the simple. Don't take it for granted. 5 times in a row. Okay? Now you know what comes next. 1 Q-tip above center after you've done it 5 times in a row below. Now that's interesting. Look where the cue ball went. And that's probably because in the center, in 1 Q-tip above center, we have about the same amount of forward rotation. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. This is for you to experiment. Now you can go even lower on the cue ball. We're not shooting left or right English yet. Get my cue ball on that spot. So now I'm 2 tips below center. Okay, so the cue ball came here with 1 tip below center, 2 tips it came over here. I wonder what's going to happen if I go 2 Q-tips above center. Everything is set and perfectly aimed before you begin any warm-up strokes. I did not make that ball very well. So there could be other forces at play. For example, when I'm shooting with 2 Q-tips above center, that's going to give this ball a little bit more rotation, and I'm hitting it soft as well. There may be a little bit of cling that's throwing the object ball in that direction, and that's where I missed it. That's the most common way to miss this shot. So by doing things in a deliberate fashion, you're paying attention to all these details. So I missed one by shooting with follow. Did I hit the same aim point that I did on the other shots? I don't know. Maybe I did, but I'll make another effort at it. And this time, because I've been so deliberate in choosing my aim point, I'm making certain to not hit it too thick. And I'm able to do that because I began the exercise by bracketing left, right, left, right, left, right. This is how you build up your knowledge of a shot. You can do this with any shot that's giving you trouble. Maybe it's a rail shot like this. Same exact procedure, believe it or not. With a rail shot like this, you can overcut it. You can play it to that part of the pocket, and that's what you want to do. You want to bracket this. Okay. Now I can also aim to hit it thickly. And sometimes when you hit it thickly, it goes in, especially when you're hitting it softly like this. Okay. But you can make it a challenge to yourself to see how close can you get to this side of the pocket without making the ball. And same thing to this side. And when you do that, you're building up your ability to see that aim point, to see the sight picture that makes that happen. And then that drill, as you bracket, as you get closer to the center of the pocket, you get better at that. And then the drill ends by pocketing the ball 5 times in a row. With center ball, 5 times with low, 5 times with high. And then your job is to teach yourself. So it's up to you how far you want to take that. If you're a beginning player, you might be exhausted after you've made it 5 times in a row with center ball. I don't want you to spend 8 hours doing this. This is 15 minutes on one shot. Then go do something else. It's actually counterproductive if you spend too much time on the same shot.
Bracketing from a chosen Q-tip position reinforces the idea that every shot has 2 components, the object ball and the cue ball. As you practice aiming, you will learn what is the perfect angle. The perfect angle for any shot provides the highest pocketing percentage given the shot category and the desired cue ball position. In the following examples, I will pocket a ball from each of the 3 categories: a bounce shot, a rail shot, and an open table shot, from cue ball positions of 0, 30, and 15 degrees, while playing general cue ball position for each of the 4 table quadrants, holding the ball on the same side of the table, cross down table, and up table. The goal of finding the perfect angle for any shot is to learn when and how much throw comes into play, which part of the pocket to favor when aiming, and the speed and Q-tip position that achieves your desired position. Let's start with a bounce shot. A 0-degree angle is straight in. There's not much you can do. You can stop it. You can follow forward. Here I cheat the pocket, and you can get the cue ball to move. And you can do the same thing drawing the ball. You can cheat the pocket or shoot it straight and with some inside spin. But you're pretty limited in what you can accomplish position-wise. So now we move to 30 degrees with the same object ball location, and this is an example of what can happen when you try to hold the ball. The softer you shoot, the more throw, the more cling you get, and you can end up undercutting the ball very easily. When you do hit it cleanly, it can be really hard to hold that cue ball. By hold, I mean keep it on the same side of the table as the object ball. Going cross table is very simple with a 30-degree angle, and going down table is very simple. Going twice across table is easy with that 30-degree angle. Going up table is delicate and can be tricky. I'll talk about the speed ranges in a later shot. Now we're at halfway between 0 and 30 degrees. As you can see, it's real simple to hit the ball cleanly and hold it from 15 degrees. Going across table, though, takes a little bit more force. Coming down table, you've got a lot of control, I think. You can even hold the cue ball on the same side of the table and move it down table. And then going up table, you have lots of options. You can go to the head rail or simply across and up. Now we're at a rail shot, straight in or 0 degrees. There's not much you can do. You can cheat the pocket a little bit. Here I try and stun it forward with spin. That didn't accomplish a whole lot. So there's not much you can do as far as moving the cue ball there. Holding the cue ball on the same side of the table on a rail shot from 30 degrees is really difficult, while going across table is quite simple, and you can hit the ball softly. Likewise, twice across is pretty easy to accomplish with 30 degrees. Coming back down table is relatively easy, but a lot of times takes some outside spin. And then you can, that was inside spin to go up table. Now from 15 degrees, once again, we're seeing a little bit more control. I need to hit the ball a little bit harder to go across table, and going twice across the same. But I think you have a little bit more control. I'll talk about that in a second. Coming down table is easy. Lots of options when you only have 15 degrees. And the same thing with going up table. I can go to the head rail or the side rail if I'm moving the cue ball forward. Here I tried to hold the cue ball but bring it down past the side pocket, and that can be pretty tricky. So now we're going to an open table shot. Straight in, you can cheat. You have more options for cheating the pocket. I've cheated the pocket to the left to move the cue ball forward, and also to the right to move the cue ball forward. So there's some options there even when you're straight in or very close to straight in. And the same thing is true for drawing the cue ball. You can cheat the pocket and draw it with inside or outside spin to achieve different positional routes. But here, trying to hold the cue ball on the same side was a very delicate operation, as you can see. It's easy to go cross table, and this, I believe, is twice across. A lot of times you do need to use some inside English to keep the cue ball above the side pocket, but very doable. Down table is has lots of options, but you've got to be careful of that side pocket when you have an open table shot. Here I'm trying to hold the cue ball again, a real delicate operation. Going up table is going to require inside English almost always. Here I go to the side table. Side rail, and it's possible to go to the head rail as well. Now from 15 degrees, much easier to hold the cue ball on the same side of the table, but here you see I didn't even get to the side rail trying to go across, and going twice across is going to require a lot of force. Didn't even get, almost didn't get past the middle of the table. Here's going forward to the side rail, and going forward to the head rail is really simple, a little bit inside English. Now I believe I'm going to go down table. Yeah. Now you notice how hard I hit that to go down table. Let's pause and talk about that for a second. From the 30-degree cut angle on this object ball position, it didn't require a lot of force to bring it down table, and that actually makes it more difficult. If you think about your range of speed control being on a scale from 1 to 10, you're going to hit this shot from anywhere from 2 to 3 or 4, depending on how far down table you want to move it. Now compare to the 15-degree angle, and in order to achieve those same locations of the cue ball, you can use a 3, a 5, or a 7. So that means you have to be very precise with your cue ball speed on the 30-degree angle, but on the 15-degree angle, it's more controllable because it's a wider range of speed. And then here I'm holding the cue ball again, 3 different ways to hold the cue ball: just above the side pocket, and then I can go below it because of this 15-degree angle, very controllable. And I can even hold the cue ball by drawing all the way to the bottom rail, so there's lots of options there. These examples are general and may seem obvious to some players, but remember, this video is not about playing position, it is about aiming. A beginner or intermediate player looking to advance their aiming skills must begin to add cue ball control to the equation. By categorizing shots and cut angles as shown, your experimentation will be far more efficient. As you repeat shots, as shown in the How to Practice session, and experiment with Q-tip position and speed, you will find aiming starts to become automatic. This example shows only first category cut angles from 0 to 30 degrees, straight into the half ball hit. You want most of your shots to be the perfect angle. Now there's no perfect number because sometimes you want to be straight in, sometimes you want to have more or less angle. But if I had to pick a number, I say the perfect angle is 15 degrees, the 3/4 ball hit. Your pocketing percentage will be higher than any other angle, including straight ins, and your options for holding or moving the cue ball are the greatest from any object ball position. I hope this video helps you take your aiming to the next level, mostly by understanding that aim point acquisition is only 5% of your work. The other 95%, your physical and mental process, is where the real work lies. In this video, we learned about deflection and throw, the margin of error, and that every shot is a straight shot, categories of cut shots to simplify practice, a bracketing method of cut shot practice, and the perfect angle. If you like this video, you'll love this video about straight shooter Joshua Filler and the elements of his process that can help you shoot straight as well. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for much more on the process of playing great pool.